Hello, people. Watchman blows the horn here. I'm sure you've heard of the Game of Thrones. Well, let me tell you about the original spiritual Game of Thrones. The Lord Jesus says something very interesting in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 49 and verse 38. He says, "And I will set my throne in Elam, and will destroy from thence the king and the princes, saith the Lord." Jeremiah 49 verse 38. I find this very interesting. Let's look at a couple more verses. So it says, "This is the word of the Lord that came to Jeremiah the prophet concerning Elam, early in the reign of Zedekiah king of Judah. This is what the Lord Almighty says. See, I will break the bow of Elam, the mainstay of their might." Jeremiah 49 verse 34 and 35. "I will bring against Elam the four winds." So this suggests that this is happening at the end of time. Once you see the phrase four winds, it's speaking of the very end, right at the time of the rapture. "From the four quarters of heaven I will scatter them to the four winds, and there will not be a nation where Elam's exiles do not go." Jeremiah 49, verse 36. "I will scatter Elam before their foes, before those who want to kill them. I will bring disaster on them, even my fierce anger, declares the Lord. I will pursue them with the sword until I have made an end of them." Jeremiah 49, verse 37. "I will set my throne in Elam and destroy her king and officials, declares the Lord. Yet I will restore the fortunes of Elam in days to come, declares the Lord." Jeremiah 49, verse 38 to 39. So, the verses we just went through seem to suggest that there is a throne in Elam. Consider this. Consider that you're a king and you are at war with another king, and you are victorious over the other king. What would you do as the ultimate expression of your victory? Wouldn't you want to set your throne where that king's throne was, as the ultimate expression of your victory over that king? So, the verses we just went through suggests to me that there is a throne in Elam. In order for Christ to say that he wants or that he will set his throne in Elam, it suggests to me that there is a rival throne in Elam. So, the original dimensions of the Garden of Eden. You see, the land promised to Abraham by Jehovah was Eden, the garden of God. So the dimensions given to Abraham were the dimensions of Eden. And at the center The very center of the garden is the Temple Mount. So to your descendants I give this land from the river of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates, Genesis 15, verse 18. This is the promised land, Eden. And this is where the idea of the greater Israel comes from. It is based on the dimensions given to Abraham as the land that was promised to him. Now, the dimensions give us the layout of the earthly, physical Eden. You see, Eden has a replica. There is a spiritual Eden, which is in the heavenly Jerusalem. And in that spiritual Eden, you have a spiritual Mount Zion, which has its replica on the earth, on the earthly Mount Zion. And you see the on that earthly Mount Zion, earthly Mount Moriah, uh, earthly Temple Mount, there is a stone. There is a stone referred to as the foundation stone. And it is upon this foundation stone that Adam was created. This foundation stone was to be found in the temple, which of course has its replica in the heavenly Jerusalem. You see, that foundation stone is the equivalent of Jehovah's throne in the heavenly Jerusalem, the holy city, where the throne of Jehovah is. It is out of this stone that Adam was created, according to the sages. You see, this throne was to be the throne of God's representative on the earth. Adam was God's representative on the earth. We all know what happened to Adam. He fell and he handed his position over to Satan. However, Christ came and took back that position. So, one day in the very near future, Christ will reign from that throne on the earth in Jerusalem on the Temple Mount. The Lord said unto my Lord, that's Jehovah, said unto Yeshua, Sit thou at my right hand until I make thine enemies thy footstool. The Lord shall send the rod of thy strength out of Zion. Rule thou in the midst of thine enemies. Psalm 110, verse 1 and 2. Yeshua will reign from Zion. He will rule from the Temple Mount. You see, that's the reason why you have this verse, or these verses, which speaks of the fall. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. Isaiah 14, verse 12 to 13. That is Satan's desire, is to set his throne. So you see, Satan has a throne. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. He wants to set his throne above the throne of God. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. Isaiah 14, verse 14 to 15. You see, Satan's desire is to set his throne above the throne of Yeshua, above the throne of Jehovah. He wants to set his throne above God's throne in the heavenly Jerusalem, and he wants to set his throne above God's throne in the earthly Jerusalem. It will not be allowed in the heavenly Jerusalem, and he will be cast out. However, for a season, he will be allowed to sit on the throne in the earthly Jerusalem, because the world want him to sit on the throne. They reject Jehovah, and they are clamoring for Lucifer, for Satan. And very soon they will get their wish. So the throne of Jehovah was set in the holy temple. And that throne was represented by the Ark of the Covenant, which had the mercy seat, which had above it the Shekhinah, the holy presence of Jehovah. Now, this Ark of the Covenant was set in the Holy of Holies. And the Holy of Holies, which had the Ark of the Covenant upon it, was upon the foundation stone, the pierced stone. You see, this stone represents Yeshua himself. This stone is the navel of the earth, the very center, the gateway, the literal gateway into the heavenly realm. This is the throne of Yeshua. It is from here that Yeshua will rule the earth. As you can see, it is upon this throne, it is upon this stone that the Ark of the Covenant and the mercy seat sat. This was the Holy of Holies. Therefore, thus says the Lord God, behold, I lay in Zion a stone for a foundation, a tried stone, a precious cornerstone, a sure foundation. Whoever believes will not act hastily. Isaiah 28, verse 16. This stone is currently under the dome of the rock. This stone, the earthly throne of Jehovah's representative on the earth, is currently being occupied. The dome of the rock is a shrine built over a large stone in the center of Jerusalem. This holy rock is known as the foundation stone, the pierced stone, the very throne of God's representative on the earth. But for the time being, the Lord allows it to be occupied for a season, and that season is fast coming to an end. Also, I will make justice the measuring line and righteousness the plummet. The hail will sweep away the refuge of lies, and the waters will overflow the hiding place. Isaiah 28, verse 17. This speaks of when the fiery red dragon will come and cause great destruction, cause an earthquake which will destroy the dome of the rock, exposing the foundation stone, allowing the children of Jacob to rebuild the temple. That's why it speaks of justice being the measuring line and righteousness being the plummet. This is speaking of the rebuilding of the temple, the revealing, the hiding place. For in my jealousy and in the fire of my wrath have I spoken. Surely in that day there shall be a great shaking in the land of Israel, so that the fishes of the sea and the fowls of the heavens and the beasts of the field and all creeping things that creep upon the earth and all the men that are upon the face of the earth shall shake at my presence, and the mountains shall be thrown down, and the steep places shall fall, and every wall shall fall to the ground. Ezekiel 38, verse 19, 20. This is when the dome of the rock will be destroyed by a great earthquake. Who art thou, O great mountain, before Zerubbabel? Thou shalt become a plain, and he shall bring forth the headstone thereof with shoutings, crying, Grace, grace unto it. Zechariah 4 verse 7. This is when the dome will collapse, not by power nor by might, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. The Lord will cause this destruction. And then the plummet, the measuring line will go out, and they will rebuild their temple. Your covenant with death, the Abraham Accords, will be annulled, and your agreement with Sheol will not stand. When the overflowing scourge passes through, then you will be trampled down by it. Isaiah 28 verse 18. As often as it goes out, it will take you. For morning by morning it will pass over, and by day and by night it will be a terror just to understand the report. Isaiah 28 verse 19. For the bed is too short to stretch out on, and the covering so narrow that one cannot wrap himself in it. For the Lord will rise up as at Mount Perazim, he will be angry as in the valley of Gibeon, that he may do his work, his awesome work, and bring to pass his act, his unusual act. Isaiah 28 verse 20 and 21, of raining fire down on his enemies. Now therefore do not be mockers, lest your bounds be made strong. For I have heard from the Lord God of hosts a destruction determined even upon the whole earth. Isaiah 28 verse 22. Of course, the end of that process will lead to the rebuilding of the temple. So, understanding the significance of the Temple Mount and the foundation stone will make you have more of an appreciation for these verses. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God, I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. Isaiah 14 verse 12 to 13. Now do you understand why the man of sin, the son of perdition, will one day sit in the temple of God claiming himself to be God? It's all a game of thrones. 2 Thessalonians 2 verse 3 to 4. And the man of sin shall be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God, all that is worshipped, so that he sits as God in the temple of God, setting himself forth that he is God. The abomination that will cause desolation. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds, I will be like the Most High, yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. Isaiah 14, verse 14 and 15. So, back to Genesis. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. Genesis 3 verse 14. The seed of the woman and the other seed. Cain, the cursed, irredeemably marked, and hidden one, who is permitted to take vengeance sevenfold if killed. Genesis 4, verse 9 to 15. Cursed, marked, hidden, and trapped in a cycle of reincarnation until he is defeated by the seed of the woman. And he said, "What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. So now you are cursed from the earth, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand." Genesis 4, verse 10 and 11. "Surely you have driven me out this day from the face of the ground. I shall be hidden from your face. I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond on the earth. Who goes to and fro the earth? And it will happen that anyone who finds me will kill me." Genesis 4, verse 14. Cain, his name is made up of the calf, which one of the interpretations of the calf is the is behind the back. In other words, Cain was driven out of the land and he was hidden from the presence of Jehovah. So as he's being driven out, what do you see? You see his back, the behind. And why is he driven out? Why is he hidden? Why was he marked and set apart? Well, because of the work of his hand. He murdered the seed of the woman. He murdered Abel. So the second letter is the yod, which means hand or work, deed. And what was his deed? Brings us to the third letter in the name of Cain, Nun. He killed the woman's seed. So Cain was driven out from the presence of the Lord because by the work of his hand he killed the seed of the woman. When you till the ground, it shall no longer yield its strength to you. A fugitive and a vagabond you shall be on the earth. And Cain said to the Lord, "My punishment is greater than I can bear." Genesis 4, verse 12 to 13. And the Lord said to him, "Therefore, whoever kills Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold." And the Lord set a mark on Cain, lest anyone finding him should kill him. Genesis 4, verse 15. And Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod, on the east of Eden. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch. And he built a city, and called the name of the city after the name of his son Enoch. Genesis 4, verse 16 to 17. And Zillah, she also bare Tubal Cain, an instructor of every artificer in brass and iron. And the sister of Tubal Cain was Naamah. And Lamech said unto his wives, Adah and Zillah, "Hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech. Hearken unto my speech, for I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt." Genesis 4, verse 22 to 23. It seems something's been left out of this story, um, which is revealed in the book of Yeshua, which is referenced in the Bible. So let's have a look at what the book of Yeshua says in addition to this account. Now it says that Cain went out to the east of Eden and built a city. Now the land of Nod, where Cain went to, is actually in Elam. Interesting, isn't it? And it's interesting that the first ziggurat, the um, original structure out of which the concept of the pyramid emerged. The original ziggurat is found, or the oldest ziggurat is found in the land of Elam. The ziggurat of Jiroft, known also as the Konar Sandal ziggurat, is an ancient monument located in Jiroft in the southern Iranian province of Kerman, a place that some say is Iran's cradle of civilization. This ziggurat was discovered in 2002, and it has been reported that it is the second ziggurat to be found in Iran, the first being the Chogal Zanbil ziggurat. According to some sources, the ziggurat of Jiroft is the largest and oldest structure of its kind in the world. Interesting, isn't it? The ziggurat, which was also built by Nimrod in the Ur of Chaldees. Interesting that the first of its kind was found in Elam, where Cain fled to and built the first city. Chogal Zanbil Ziggurat. The ziggurat at Chogal Zanbil near Susa, Iran. And Susa is in Elam. Interesting. Chogal Zanbil. And unto Enoch was born Irad, and Irad begat Mehujael, and Mehujael begat Methusael, and Methusael begat Lamech, and Lamech took unto him two wives. The name of the one was Ada, and the name of the other Zillah. Genesis 4, verse 18 and 19. And Ada bare Jabal. He was the father of such as dwell in tents, and of such as have cattle. And his brother's name was Jubal. He was the father of all such as handle the harp and organ. Genesis 4, verse 20 and 21. So, and Lamech was old and advanced in years, and his eyes were dim, that he could not see. And Tubal Cain his son was leading him. And it was one day that Lamech went into the field, and Tubal Cain his son was with him. And whilst they were walking in the fields, Cain, the son of Adam, advanced towards them. For Lamech was very old and could not see much, and Tubal Cain his son was very young. And Tubal-Cain told his father to draw his bow, and with the arrows he smote Cain, who was yet far off, and he slew him, for he appeared to them to be an animal, a beast. And the arrows entered Cain's body, although he was distant from them, and he fell to the ground and died. And the Lord requited Cain's evil according to his wickedness, which he had done to his brother Abel, according to the word of the Lord, which he had spoken. And it came to pass, when Cain had died, that Lamech and Tubal went to see the animal, the beast, which they had slain. And they saw, and behold, Cain, their grandfather, was fallen dead upon the earth. And Lamech was very much grieved at having done this. And in clapping his hands together, he struck his son and caused his death. And the wives of Lamech heard what Lamech had done, and they sought to kill him. And the wives of Lamech hated him from that day, because he slew Cain and Tubal-Cain. And the wives of Lamech separated from him, and would not hearken to him in those days. And Lamech came to his wives, and he pressed them to listen to him about this matter. And he said to his wives Adah and Zillah, Hear my voice, O wives of Lamech, attend to my words, for now you have imagined and said that I slew a man with my wounds, and a child with my stripes. For their having done no violence, but surely know that I am old and grey-headed, and that my eyes are heavy through age, and I did not think, and I did this thing unknowingly. And the wives of Lamech listened to him in this matter, and they returned to him with the advice of their father Adam. But they bore no children to him from that time, knowing that God's anger was increased in those days against the sons of men, to destroy them with the waters of the flood for their evil doings. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and 7. Genesis 4, verse 24. So, according to this account, Cain was killed, albeit unknowingly. Cain, who appeared to Lamech and Tubal-Cain as a beast, an animal. Interesting, that description. He appeared to them as a beast. So, the spiritual throne in Elam was established. That is why the word says, For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Ephesians 6, verse 12. Susa, the citadel of Susa. Interesting that Susa means lotus. This name derives from the Middle Egyptian, and then after from the Persian root Susan or Suzanne. However, the Hebrew root for the name of the lily from Lilium family is derived from Suzanne, Shushan, Shushana, which means lotus, lily, to be joyful, bright, or cheerful. So Susa or Shushan means lotus. And what does the lotus represent? Rebirth. The lotus flower is regarded in many different cultures, especially in Eastern religions, as a symbol of purity, enlightenment, self regeneration, and rebirth. Its characteristics are a perfect analogy for the human condition, even when its roots are in the dirtiest waters. The lotus produces the most beautiful flower. So the lotus stands for rebirth. Isn't that interesting? Anyone who kills Cain, vengeance will be taken sevenfold. So Susa means rebirth. The iPet goat animation. It's interesting that as the apple is divided, and the Bible says that the apple of God's eye is Jerusalem, the apple is divided and the lotus flower emerges. So the lotus flower is being used to symbolize something here. Rebirth. Who is being reborn? Who is coming back to the earth? The ancient Greeks and Egyptians describe a mythical bird called the phoenix, a magnificent creature that was a symbol of renewal and rebirth. According to legend, each phoenix lived for 500 years, and only one phoenix lived at a time. Just before its time was up, the phoenix built a nest and set itself on fire, and out of the ashes would rise a phoenix reborn. Of course, the symbol of the phoenix usually comes with the lotus, as they both stand for the same thing, the concept of rebirth, reincarnation, the return of an entity to the earth. Also, in the iPad goat animation, you can see the character being depicted as the Antichrist here has flames at his feet burning, alluding to the fact that this is the phoenix rising. Note, he is also in a boat coming out of the underworld. This symbolizes the rebirth. He emerges from the birth canal after the waters break. And as he emerges, what do we see springing out of the waters? Lotus. Lotus flowers. And you have a total of 7 lotus flowers. And then the 8th indicating the rebirth of the phoenix, the rebirth of the original son of perdition. the rebirth of Cain. Rise like a phoenix, a song by Conchita Wurst, who just so happens to be transgender. Let's listen to the lyrics, shall we? Walking in the rubble, walking over glass, neighbors say we're trouble. Well, that time has passed. Peering from the mirror, no, that isn't me. Stranger getting nearer. Who can this person be? You wouldn't know me at all today. From the fading light I fly, rise like a phoenix, out of the ashes, seeking rather than vengeance. Vengeance will be taken how many times? 7 times. Seeking rather than vengeance retribution. You were warned. Once I'm transformed, once I'm reborn, you know I will rise like a phoenix, but you're my flame. We, or the earth, is the flame which will be set alight, or the nest which will be set alight, and out of the ashes the phoenix will rise. Go about your business, act as if you're free. No one could have witnessed what you did to me, 'cause you wouldn't know me today, and you have got to see to believe. From the fading light I fly. Rise like a phoenix out of the ashes, seeking rather than vengeance retribution. You were warned. Once I'm transformed, once I'm reborn, the phoenix who rises from the ashes. I rise up to the sky. You threw me down, but I'm gonna fly and rise like a phoenix out of the ashes, seeking rather than vengeance retribution. You were warned. Once I'm transformed, once I'm reborn, you know I will rise like a phoenix, but you're my flame. So what is this song speaking of? Rise by Katy Perry. I won't just survive. Oh, you will see me thrive. Can write my story. I'm beyond the archetype. I won't just conform no matter how you shake my core, 'cause my roots, they run deep. Oh, ye of so little faith. Don't doubt it, don't doubt it. Victory is in my veins. I know it. And I will not negotiate. I'll fight it, I'll fight it. I will transform. When? When the fire's at my feet again? And the vultures all start circling. They're whispering, you're out of time. But still, I rise. This is no mistake, no accident. When you think the final nail is in, think again. I will rise. Of whom are they speaking? The throne in Elam, the throne in Susa. Thank you very much for listening to me. This is the first installment. We will continue in the second video. This is a watchman blowing the horn. I'm blowing the horn as loudly as I can. time out.